Hello and welcome to Shape the System, where we find and tell the stories that help people to rethink the way the world works. We interview people from all over the world who are helping to change our systems for the better. Shape the System is an independent podcast with support from KPMG High Growth Ventures, who help ambitious founders and their teams scale up for success. More about KPMG High Growth Ventures after the interview. We hope you enjoy this episode.
All right, we're laughing already. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the show. I actually haven't done this in 3 years. I've never actually asked anyone to give me a review for the show, and I realize they're actually probably important. So if you actually listen to the show and you like it, please leave us a review wherever that is. I don't know actually what that means, but hopefully that's obvious how to do that in whatever you're listening to. If you don't like it, then tell us so that we can improve it. But with that out of the way, we're going to be talking about something we haven't spoken about on the show today. And I don't even know what the term means, but I'm going to use beauty products as an umbrella, and we're going to dive into what we even mean by that. But Pinar, welcome to the show, and tell us just a little bit about yourself, and we're going to dive into TAKK later, but just put us in the space and then we'll dive straight into the problem space as we always.
Hello, hi. Glad to be talking to you today. My name is Pinar Akiskalioglu. My surname is like a complicated one for like Turkish speakers. So yeah, don't worry about it, but yeah. Anyways, I like to call myself a business activist. Yeah, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to tackle the things that I see problematically in business world today. Business has been my childhood passion, believe it or not. We have kids who like to be doctor, helping people, or teachers, but I really like trading. I had a coin collection. I used to sell the things that I found at home on the streets. So kind of business has been my passion, and not all of us we are in business just to become ultra rich and have a comfortable life. For me, it's like something that I like, I'm passionate about, and I'm trying to make it right and helpful to people.
Perfect. All right. And that's going to provide a beautiful context for a lot of what we're going to talk about later. But let's start with beauty products. And I'm kind of using that term a little bit tongue in cheek, because if I think of beauty products, I immediately think of kind of women's lipstick or something along those lines. And I think I'm probably doing the term a disservice. So just help me understand what we mean when we talk about beauty products, and then a little bit about the state of beauty products and kind of how those markets operate today. And that take a few minutes if you need it, because I know that's a very short question with probably a long answer.
Yes, exactly. Last week, we had a team meeting, how to call the industry that we operate in.
Right.
Is it beauty products? Is it beauty care? Is it cosmetics? Is it personal care? What it is? And we spent, I think, around 40 minutes to come to a conclusion, and we couldn't.
Right.
And I'm like, yes, 4 years into the business and we can't even
define our own market.
Yeah. That's good. But anyway, so for the purpose of this conversation, let's call it beauty products. With beauty products, we mean, or sometimes we call it personal care products. The products help you feel cared personally, keeps you clean, keeps your skin moistured, your hair clean. But you can also, what started with let's clean our hair better, now ended up with let's have this gel to keep our eyebrows in a better shape. So
right.
The reason why we are having difficulties to find the right terminology for this industry, it's gone too far from just having a bit of personal care. Still like the terminology personal care, because it's a bit of you care yourself, physically, how you look, how you feel. And that was the intention to start with. Even for lipsticks, I was called to how they were advertised was that you gotta look healthier. So that's how this journey started.
That's how lipstick was advertised originally. Really?
Yes,
you need to have redder lips, because redder lips are a sign of health and therefore look healthier. And then it turned into all the shades.
Yeah, exactly. And you apply a bit of your cheeks, and that's how you'll look healthier and you will feel better about yourself. So kind of a naive intention to introduce a new product to the market. And I believe it's gone a bit too far now that it's more like a perfectionist, like you need to have this kind of exact look to fit in the society, kind of.
I want to get to that, but I kind of want to just come back to, let's call it personal care at the moment.
Yeah.
How does that industry operate today? What happens insofar as the makeup of the industry. There's 5 main companies, but they operate 150,000 different brands with 200,000 different products. Just help us understand kind of the status quo in personal care / beauty, shampoo and those seven or eight major categories. What does that look like?
Yes, as you described, it's just like a handful of global giant companies managing the whole personal care industry with their a lot of different brands and like their brand personalities and so on. And how it started is so my corporate career, before becoming an entrepreneur, I had a corporate career and I actually worked for one of the giants in the industry. And now that in total it's been 15 years, I'm involved in personal care industry and I never seen it declining. So it's a market that in value, financial value, always growing.
Right.
And when it comes to emerging markets, it's growing double digits every year. So it's a ever growing industry. So we, in the recent decades, we never experienced personal care industry in decline. So,
and what's driving that growth, by the way? What would you say is driving it?
What's driving? Because we keep introduce new products.
Right.
Earlier, it was only shampoo to clean our hair. Then, what about having this conditioner to make it look a bit shinier? And then, have this mask and use it. And then maybe if you are like drying your hair, it's too much heat, then I have this heat protection. How about having this a bit styling product? You know what? Shampoo is like really damaging your hair. Let's use this fresh shampoo treatment. So what it means to be one product is now like a 7 product regime. And this is how this
regime
industry...
is definitely the word here.
So this is how the industry like keep growing. And this is just one example for one product. And imagine it's, for example, eyebrows. Like I keep giving this example because I find it like extremely fascinating. 5 years ago, we were leaving our eyebrows alone. That was not something that we used to care.
Right.
And there are like unicorns in the world selling only
normal eyebrows.
Eyebrow care. Yes. Eyebrow care product. So you feel like, it is the end of it. I think we have all the care products in the world that we could think of. Then we are introduced another product. So that's how this industry keep growing.
Essentially, these companies, and even small companies as well, I think there is large multinationals and they have massive, you can get the logo of whichever one and there's hundreds of brands and they buy the brands, right? You get Dollar Shave Club, independent company, got big enough, invented a new model and someone said, that's great. That's another niche that we're missing out on. So let's buy that brand. So I think there is kind of a multinational angle to this, but I think it's also we've moved, there's a macro trend here towards hyper-personalization and the idea that you need the skincare product or the shampoo in this case that is perfect for you and your conditions. And you couldn't possibly have one the person next door to you has because their hair's different and they grew up differently to you and their diet's different and they sit in the car as opposed to sitting on the bus. And so we've kind of created that as kind of the consumption-based norm. And you're obviously seeing this more broadly than just the beauty care, but it sounds quite specific to personal care because it's marketed at us and our self-worth. Sounds like this is part of the equation here and why we're seeing it so kind of elevated here. Is that part of it?
Yes, definitely. Because people like to feel like, I don't know, like the right term, but like a special, this product specifically designed for me. It's just so appealing. And I even I experienced myself, like we were selling hair mousse, like a styling product. And all hair mousse mainly targeting people with like wavy to curly hair. But then the product that I was responsible for was not mentioning that this is specifically for curly and wavy hair people. Then I realized like the top selling products are specifically mentioning it. And I just changed the sticker on the product saying that this is for like wavy hair people. And then seriously, we became the top selling product. And I like this. This was like, I don't know, 15 years ago, but already gave me a sign that, this is what really matters in personal care. But in fact, now that I have more experience with the formulations, what is the purpose of these products and so on, this is a bit like exaggerating the benefit you could get from any personal care product.
Yeah.
Thinking that it's so specific to your hair or so specific to your skin is just exaggeration of the product benefits. This product helps you to clean your hair a bit better, helps you to have your skin a bit moisturized, but it doesn't really go much beyond that. So yes, there are like some tweaks into the formulation that you could do and make it more specific to some of the types, but it's not really huge.
Right.
It's not, and it's because it's advertised to us. It is again a way of like, confusing us, because sometimes it's like when you're talking to your kids, like they want something and, you want something else and you ask them, oh, you can do A or B. Then it feels like they have the power of deciding.
There's some agency.
But but then you propose them fake options. That was not originally what they wanted. And it's almost like as consumers trick into the same thing. Okay, you see a shelf, or it could be like an e-commerce, doesn't matter. Okay, this is for wavy hair, this is for straight hair. It feels like you have to pick your product.
Yeah. And so I want to get to this because this talked to some of the things that you talk a lot about at TAKK, and I think more broadly as well, around kind of paradox of choice and micro decisions. So kind of let's just define both of those terms for people who don't know. So paradox of choice is where there's so many choices. I believe this is the right definition, that you are actually make decision making harder. You make it harder for people. And then micro decisions point to countless unnecessary decisions that people might make on a daily basis because they literally won't impact their life at all. And kind of let's take that down a level deeper in terms of how you've thought about that in the context of personal care products and how you've seen it in personal care products.
This paradox of choice, that's my entrepreneurship journey actually started, because my job at the time when I was introduced to this terminology was to keep introducing new products to the market all the time that will potentially bring more customers and more sales. I mean, I listened to a podcast and it really opened my eye. The professor was talking about if having this many options, like crazy number of options, is it really liberating us to make the right decision, or is this like paralyzing our true decision making and the decision is not ours anymore? Which, I mean, he was suggesting is the second one, which I believe I made my research on this, and an average a supermarket holds around 200 different types of shampoo for you to choose from. It's average, by the way. If you go to a bigger supermarket, you have more options to choose from. And one of them is, this is vegan. This is for curly hair. And the other one has some milk in it. So they are not even comparable, which is just talking about different stuff and different benefits. And it's just talking to you too much. So it is not really possible. It's not possible for you to make a decision. And that's the paradox of choice. It looks like you have the choice available to you, make the best decision for yourself. But in fact, it's impossible to make an informed decision given this many unrelated information about a certain product. It comes for a shower gel, then it comes for a toothpaste, then it's just too much. And that's what we call with microdecisions. And it's taking too much of a time of a person to sell them something, a product that will benefit them. It's too much of an ask. So I feel like I always wanted to have a job that has some purpose, helping people. And then just adding to this, the choice and taking people's time for nothing. It's just, I felt bad about what I used to do. That's why I made this shift. Yeah. For simple products that doesn't really change much in our lives, they are taking too much of our time.
Yeah. And I kind of wanted to get into this idea that it sounds like there's a subset of personal care products that absolutely will, if you don't wash your hair at all, clearly, I mean, I don't have hair, so I haven't had this problem for a while, but I empathize with other people who have hair. I'm definitely saying that tongue in cheek. But if you don't wash your hair at all or don't use soap at all, it is a problem, right? So obviously there's a baseline of products that the binary of not using that isn't an option. And so if we look at those products specifically, there is likely I kind of call it the iPhone design paradigm. And this is going to sound like an odd parallel, but Apple brought out an iPhone in 2007 or whenever it was. And it kind of reset the bar for what a personal mobile internet device that had calling capability might look like. And fast forward 15 years, and that's what every device looks like. And the reason for that is that's actually the optimal device designed for that type of device. And you can increment, have a slightly better camera or 3 cameras or a bigger flash, and they're all incremental improvements. But realistically, fundamentally, the $180 Android phone and the $1,800 iPhone, top of the line, are fundamentally giving you the same access to the internet, same access to take photos. There's not really a lot of difference for the baseline of what that binary of having versus not having. And I think there's a lot of this plays out personal care as well, where we're adding avocado to things because it sounds nice. But realistically, the utility of that product and the efficacy of that product doesn't change at all. So that's interesting as one category. The other category, though, that's interesting to me in a sustainability bent, and I'm a leading question because I want to get to the sustainability part of this, is products that we don't really need. We probably do need to use soap and wash our hair for those of us who have it, but we don't necessarily need to pre-wash our hair or maybe not condition our hair. Help me understand for you when you look at this category where the line starts and finishes, because ultimately that impacts on the product that you'd ever release.
This is our favorite topic in internal team conversations because our official name for TAKK is TAKK Essentials Ltd. So we have this essential word because we only want to sell essential personal care products. But then what is essential is a very big question because what is essential to me might be different than to other people, but where you really draw the line, what is just ridiculous to have and what is really still could be considered to essentials. For a couple of years, we really pushed ourselves with like heated debates about this is not essential, this is essential. Razors, for example. Do we need to shave at all? Maybe not, but some people still like the shave, so it's essential for them. So they launch it, they don't launch it. So we realize that it's maybe the question is not like what actually we redefine the problem we wanna like tackle. So the way we evolved with this question is how can we help people to decide what they want to consume without manipulating them? Because how the personal care works today is as if we all have to use all these products. So it starts with this assumption. It's like you are almost like shamed that if you are not using an eye cream. I have a personal care company. I sell eye cream and I don't use eye cream because that's not essential to me. I never thought of it and I'm not using it and that's okay. So for us, it's like really helping people to really decide what they want to consume. My husband, for example, who is more like he's more of a beauty addict. So he uses more products than I do, which is also, he uses eye cream. And if I feel like, maybe I need some, I just get just like a bit of piece from his, which is also okay because we don't want to be this, because if this manipulation word is key to us. So when we are trying to help people not to manipulate people to consume more products than they need, we also need to be careful of manipulating them to, feeling bad about using certain products. Maybe they've been using it for years, for decades now. We don't want to make it boring. That's the problem with the whole climate conversation. Sometimes it feels like it's just too dark. We don't want to get into that territory. Because, for example, for me, I like books and I don't like ebooks. I don't like listening to the books. I like, physical
There's
books.
a lot on the table behind you, so people don't have that visual, by the way, about for you.
Many at home, and I literally keep carrying my books when I move to countries. Like I move my entire library, which is not really maybe environmental friendly, but that's my thing. But I use less products for my personal care, for example. For some people, it could be other thing. But the thing is, like really to take a moment to really understand if I really want to use this product or not. So for us, this is like how this selling essential product means. But there's still a line where we draw the line with our formula developers. If we are convinced that the extra benefit of a certain product is really just super minimal and it's not worth to take people's time and world resources, we opt not to do it. even for the ingredients, not only product wise, for ingredients wise. So, for example, for a serum for people who are really dry hair, should we put 10%, 5%? So 10% is more marketable, right? Oh, we have a lot of vitamin C in our product. But when we discuss with formula developers, if they are convinced that 5% is already good enough, we don't opt for 10%. So there are a lot of savings for our planet when you really have the right mindset, when you're having the conversation even within the team. So that's why we really care about having the right climate in our organization to decide what is essential for the product line and what is essential to be in the formulations that we are offering to our customers. But when you gave about the example about the iPhone, which I like it because that was a true innovation, right? When it was introduced. So that's kind of changed the way we communicate. And I think that's how we should use the terminology innovation. Whereas in beauty care, every year, some company introducing an innovation for, I don't know, for
more
face
avocado.
cream or, more avocado, more aloe vera, more of something. And we start calling them innovation, which is really undermining the true innovation efforts. Because I think we've done with shampoo. My first shampoo has been introduced almost 100 years ago, a bit more than 100 years ago. And it's really not much that different than what we are using today. Right. So it's like the phone. Again, there's some things that are working better, maybe better viscosity, maybe a bit more caring. I wouldn't call them innovation. So maybe the innovation focus should be something else in this category rather than just how we perfect it. Maybe it's good enough. Maybe it's just we leave it alone and really focus on something else when it comes to personal care, which brings us into conversation about planet resources, how the packaging could look like. Can we have it in a different form and something else? I think we should be calling them innovation efforts rather than.
And so I want to go into this a little bit because I think, and we've had plenty of conversations on this show about brand and the importance of brand in trying to connect an audience to the thing that you're trying to do. And I would argue that the FMCG, fast moving consumer good brands who go and have 200, they know a hell of a lot about brand. That's why they buy brands, right? So there's this kind of, you can use this stuff, behavioral economics and the like, for good, and you can use it for bad. And so just coming into kind of this idea that you have a product and you want to take it out into the world and say, this thing does everything that you need it to do. And honestly, we're stripping back a focus on the features and how big the camera is and all that, that from that analogy with the iPhone. And instead, what we're thinking is we spend more of our time and our effort innovating around the business model or the reusability model or the circular nature of our business or the impact that you can have when you buy this product. What else happens that doesn't otherwise happen if you just buy that shampoo 1 or 200? So I've kind of got two questions in this. My first question, I think, is a challenging one we spoke about just before the call, before we started the show. Is how do you get the customer to care? The customer's so wired to look for more avocado, to kind of keep going down that line, that how do you get to them to a point where you say, hey, there are ingredients, they are on the back, but we're just not talking about them. We can tell you this stuff's great. We've had it lab tested and that's all you need to know. You don't need to know more than that. Everything else is just gibberish. How do you get them to go, oh, okay, good. That sounds fine. I'll stop caring about avocado. And then the second thing is, how do you get them to care about all the other stuff when they're there to buy shampoo? Just talk a bit about that because that sounds massively challenging.
It is challenging. So at some point we were having an internal team meeting. So we are very passionate group of people. So we love what we do. So you should come and see our team meetings. We are changing the world. We are changing the industry. So that's the spirit. But then there's always an elephant in the room that we don't have enough customers. How do we get customers? How we start the movement? People are just so used to consuming information about personal care products in a certain way. This makes your skin looking younger. This makes your hands super soft. Tell me what it does. Even when I'm talking to my friends, they know who I'm passionate about changing the industry. Conversation always adds up. Oh, so this product, does it make me Yeah, it always ends with a product benefits. And on top of it, it's not only the habits of consuming information about these products in a certain way, and there are them giants pouring money into making sure the system is as is, continue as is. So you are not fighting only habits, but huge giants like trying to do something else. And it's also about marketing. When it comes to marketing, it's like the shorter you say, the better. This makes your hair 40% thicker. That's it. You're already there. Your message is given. This is perfect. It's great marketing. Whereas, I don't know how many minutes we are, but half an hour, I'm still trying to explain why we exist and what we are trying to do. So the problem is we need more time, to explain what we mean, what we're trying to change and so on. But there's one upside to it. Once we convince people, they stay with us, which is, I think, it's a superpower that we can build for future. Because the thing is, one issue with B2K giants that they have to keep pouring money into creating new and new stories and keep convincing people that they need certain products. Whereas with us, once we have the engagement, once we are aligned with the values, people stay with us for a longer time, which never happens in personal care. Right. Whatever is advertised more, people just move and ship products. Whereas with our customers, we have like really meaningful conversation. So we accept the fact that it's not a short way to build our community, but still we are always trying to find ways to start an intellectual conversation. That's why we are throwing the keywords, microdecisions, non-manipulative personal care products, just like for people to just
That sounds very different to what I'm reading and hearing elsewhere. Interestingly, and I said before, we had spoken about brands on the show before, the one that this kind of reminds me of a little bit is the conversation we had with the Heaps Normal guys. And I don't know if you're familiar with them over in the UK, but it's a non-alcoholic beer. That's the category. But what they actually did was said, you know what, it's okay to drink less, right? They created a movement and a culture around normalizing a different attitude to alcohol. And for some people, that's not drinking at all, but that's not what they were saying. They were saying most people probably would prefer to drink a bit less. And so we want to normalize that dialogue. And that's kind of why we're here as a brand. And the product we sell is obviously a non-alcoholic beer. That means if you're in a context where other people are drinking and you'd prefer to drink a bit less, then you can use our product. And I think there was something really interesting in that, which was that they weren't ever going out with kind of you mentioned it before, they weren't saying don't use eye serum. They were just saying just make an informed decision about what it is that you're trying to do. And what's happened, interestingly, is firstly, the product is incredibly good. So I don't think any of these things work if the product doesn't actually make your hair thicker or shiny or whatever it needs to do for your hair. I'm, again, out of the game 20 years, so whatever hair shampoo does that's good, make sure it does that. But then the dialogue shifts to, why am I aligned to this brand? What is it that they stand for that is important to me? And if that's what they stand for, that's why I have an affiliation with the brand. And I think what's interesting about what you're doing and talking about, my guess is there's a bunch of people who probably just want to wash their hair and have the product work and would love to get out of the hype cycle. And they're trying to work out, well, who's the brand and who's the provider for them. And what was interesting, I just looking at your website before jumping on, I noticed that you have a bunch of content and talk about a bunch of these interesting ideas, which is massively unusual for a fashion brand or a health beauty care brand or anyone in that space. Like it's always painfully thin people who you're aspirational towards, but actually just feel guilty that you're not looking like that. But the interesting thing that I thought was quite fascinating, which I want to understand a bit more on, is you actually had a direct offer to say to anyone, if you want to write about these types of topics, hit us up and we can talk. Tell me a little bit more about that tactic, because I'm actually curious about that.
Yes, because I mean, our industry is all about like showing an expertise, right? Like we are sure of it. We are sure that this is the best way to sell you these products and so on. Whereas we are in an exploration phase. Like we want to open up like intellectual conversation. We really don't see people as consumers. We even don't use this terminology. Externally, when I'm talking, I keep using this terminology, but we don't use it internally.
What term do you use, by the way?
We say people or our customers. People are not consumers.
Yeah.
Because consumers is just start with is depersonalizing really people, guys, seeing them as a figure in a mathematical quotation or something. So we start from there, like we see people as people, and we want to have conversation about this. And we welcome a lot of conversation because it's also like a lot of brands are seeing, oh, this ingredient is bad for your health because they want to introduce like a new innovation without that specific ingredient. So they've been manipulating the conversation heavily. And then people like really want to understand these people are saying something. They are credible companies. So is it really right? We always welcome this conversation. We want to really to listen to our customers and community to moving forward. And we learn from our customers and our community. One was a bit like painful. So 1 year we were launching a couple of new products, and for our existing subscribers, as a gesture for New Year's, we sent those products. So one was like face cream and the other was a dental floss to people's home as a thank you for being part of our community. And then one of our subscribers came back, I'm not using these products and you promised me that you are not going to sell me any product. Yes, we didn't sell to him. It was just a gift. But then he was right. And now we keep asking people, we have these products as a gesture. If you like to try, we can send it. So we are now really more mindful and careful, for example, when we are doing this kind of bits. That's why it's really important for us to, but the beauty is we love having this kind of conversations with our customers rather than, oh, I don't know, like my skin looks a bit like, I don't know, this bit, what would you recommend? We also have this conversation. We help people to decide what is really necessary for them. So we have customers telling me, I think your hair soap is so great. Start using it in my face instead of your face wash. And I'm happy. Can I keep using it? And it's like, yes, you can. And
yeah, technically, no problem.
Yes, exactly. Technically, no problem.
Like one of the things that kind of the analogies it reminds me of is companies that do email marketing well. There's companies I do want to get email from, but when everything comes, I don't have any choice. I'm like, I just want those two. I don't want the rest of them. And companies that are like, hey, which ones do you like? And how often do you want them? Because honestly, we do want to email you and we'd love to have you on the list. But if we break that trust, you're going to hit the unsubscribe button. And so there's something curious about this idea that you might interact with a customer and say, look, we have 7 different products that we sell. We think these are the essentials. There's some beyond this that maybe are essential for you that we don't do, and maybe we'll do them one day. But we don't think you should buy all 7 of these. Work out the 2 or 3 that are critical for you, and we can help you to do that. And if that changes over time, then that's fine as well. It's like just an interesting and massively differentiated relationship between any kind of product and the customer as opposed to how do we increase the average order value on everything that you do. And so from the traditional book of kind of management, MBA 101 kind of economics, and we'll talk a bit about punk business school later too if we've got a bit more time. It would be try to work out how to sell as much as possible to these customers because you've already acquired them. And so there's a financial impact to saying to them, we don't want you to buy everything from us. We want you to buy the stuff that matters. And so I kind of want to understand how that ties into some of the models that you've put in around kind of circular and subscription models. Help me understand how those models play a role in either working with that or offsetting that. How does that work?
Yeah. We really champion subscription. Although the word itself has a bad connotation. Subscription, I'm hooked to this. So we really even consider if we should give it another name instead of calling it subscription. But that, we thought like you, as a transparent company, we should stick to, what people would understand. But the thing is why we like subscription is if you signal what you're going to consume to us, you don't have to. Like people can unsubscribe anytime, can skip products, or we design a system that makes it very easy for our customers to really not to buy products. Yes.
Yeah.
So we make it like super easy at that point. But when we know what potentially people can consume, that gives us a huge flexibility in terms of the ingredients we can use, in terms of the packaging that we could utilize. For example, we operate in the UK, in Turkey, in USA. These countries has different natural sources that could turn into packaging. In Turkey, for example, we can utilize olive oil seeds to produce some packaging to replace plastic and so on. Those kind of things, like really, so we are not a global giant that will pour money into this and see if it's going to hit the market or not. But when we know what the numbers of customers we have, how many products they are planning to consume in this year, this will give us a flexibility to work with people like smaller companies who are really into creating something innovative. And we can, coming from a super, like a disciplined giant, we already follow all the things that making sure products are safe, the storage tests and everything. But those things, like true innovation, takes time and effort. And when people subscribe to our system and gives us a kind of an idea what will our sales of a certain product will look like, this gives us a great framework for, and then we bring a lot of cool innovators together to make it work. So that's why it's really important to really truly shape the system. This is what we...
I love that you plugged my show on my show.
Yeah, I like it, by the way. Like, it's just so cool, even just to be a guest on Shape the System for this circle. Anyway, so but this gives us really the power to be able to act on the problem that we are passionate to solve. So that's why we are championing it. So also, again, so we use recycled plastic in all of our products, but then we also recollect from our subscribers the empty packaging because we know how many they consume, and then we have fashion designers in our team that are creating bags out of those empty packaging. So that's kind of half quarter circular-ish.
A quarter circle, yeah.
Yes, quarter circle. But again, this is help us, like all these things help us to really create something. And this is what our customers want to hear from us. And that's a totally different conversation than, I don't know, the product benefits, the ingredients, the avocado aloe vera. And this is a true conversation, and it is exciting for all of us. And in terms of like the economics of it, I keep saying we don't sell anything people don't need, which is like cool because nobody does it. There's no e-store or a brick and mortar store in the world that can promise you that we are not going to sell you anything you don't need, but we do, which is, I think, fascinating. I'm very passionate about it. But then when I meet with financial guys, because, we need to keep our company alive, then I had an advisor saying, are you saying this to investors that you are not selling anything people do not need? I'm like, yeah. But that's kind of even shocking to start with. But the thing is, what I believe and what I'll be betting on, we believe there are enough people who really doesn't want to bother with this kind of stuff and have a hope for future that things can be done better. We have enough of those people, and we want to find those people, engage with them, and create a great community. And that makes a good business by itself. So we always resist, like, for example, when we are doing a company evaluation, it's very easy to throw like numbers in it. Oh, are we going to sell this many products to our customers? Like in future, it makes a greater valuation for your company. But we always resist. We want to have a company evaluation scenario that is aligned with what we are proposing today. And in one sense, it looks like it's limiting, but on the other hand, that's, I think, makes our company value more powerful because we really mean what we are doing, and we are financially backing it up. So everything is pretty much aligned, which gives a different type of power.
Yeah, I think so. There's about 5 follow-on questions I've got, and I know that we don't have time for all that, but there's some stuff here that I do kind of want to go into, because I think the idea that you're attracting a type of consumer who I'm going to kind of put in a sapiosexual bucket. And if someone who doesn't know what that means, it's the people who are attracted to intellect and intelligence. And I think if there's an audience that you're going after at the moment, it's people who are trying to understand the nature of how the personal care product industry works and are a consumer and don't want to be a consumer, to use your terminology from before. But what's interesting in that is that helping them to understand the reason we have a subscription model is because it provides predictability, which then allows us to make a longer-term investment in decisions that require capital and future projections that we can somewhat rely on. And that allows us to do the kinds of innovations that we're looking to do around circular economy or different forms of packaging or distributed manufacturing or any of these things that might reduce the environmental footprint or just change the nature of the business. I just find that no company talk to their customers about that stuff. It's a fascinating model. And I think you're right. There's 7-8 billion people on the planet. There's probably 50% of them who are buying shampoo at some point to use that particular product. And it might only be 1 or 2% right now who would prefer to have that relationship with the brand that they buy those essentials from. But that is inevitably going in one direction. I feel like you're on the brink of kind of an inflection curve for all of this stuff. I've got just 2 questions before we wrap up, and both relate to seemingly unrelated topics, but help me understand the name TAKK. And just as an aside, you've got this whole other thing that you do that feels adjacent around Punk Business School. Just tell me what that is, because I'm just madly curious about that.
Yes, TAKK means thank you in Scandinavian languages. Like when you say TAKK in Scandinavia, everybody will understand that is thank you. We wanted to have a bit of a referral to Scandinavian way of living. So they all call it differently, but the most popular one, hygge. That's a philosophy that like you really take your time you spend your time for the things that matter. Spend time with your family, at home, relaxing, having a peaceful life. So that's kind of the feeling we want to have, like we want our customers to have. We take care of your stuff and we don't bother you with nonsense stuff. So you can enjoy your time for the things that really matter. So that's how the name came from. At Punk Business School, although it looks unrelated to TAKK, believe it or not, it's a spin-off from TAKK.
Okay.
So at Punk Business School, our aim is to put humanity at the heart of business education, and we provide philosophy education to business leaders. How come it's a spin-off from TAKK? So when it comes to TAKK, I like talking about company culture. Because I believe company culture, like the culture we create around TAKK, is the essence of our products. And because our product is not the products, our product is the experience. So that's why the conversation we have in the organization, the respect we show to each other, this has a meaning. This is defining our product. So I've been keep talking about this. And my team is like, Pinar, it's too confusing. I mean, thank you. We understand you. We appreciate it. But we are trying to sell toothpaste here and it's not helping. So go and play with your thoughts somewhere else. And that's how
they needed you to have an outlet so that they could get back to working out how to solve the circular economy problem and the subscription problem.
Yeah.
Standard CEO. I know we're going to go, but whatever. One thing that's interesting is I think, and this is, I've got a 4-year-old, so this is especially relevant with children, but with people generally, and we kind of tangent all the way back to kids from the conversation earlier, but we don't give people enough credit for the kind of stuff that they can actually understand and know. And I think we often treat people as consumers and we treat them as stupid and we say they can't possibly ingest more information. They can't possibly have, and honestly, in a lot of cases, there's too much happening either in their own life or in the space that we're trying to have a conversation. There's 200 products on the shelf. Okay, there is a problem. But I think when people care about a topic, they are able to actually engage in fairly detailed, complex or nuanced things because they're interested in it or it's important to them or it aligns to their values. But the second thing I think as well is, and this is where brand is actually super interesting, and it's going to be an odd parallel, but there's a role in the chicken farm, I believe, and there's someone who knows how to sort the eggs out. I don't know if you're familiar with this trope.
No.
They don't know how they do it. There's certainly, when the eggs come out, they all come out, but occasionally 1 out of 100 has a problem, and that I think it might be that it's already developed a little bit or it's got a crack in it or something. And they don't know how they know that's the one that's got it. They just know. Now, the only way they can teach anyone to do it is to have them stand next to them and watch them do it for a while, and then they eventually work it out. But they don't know how it's done, and no one knows how rationally it's happening, but intuitively they understand it. And there's a bunch of books about this around split decisions and intuitively knowing things and intuition generally. And I think a lot of what makes brands interesting and really a lot of what you guys are doing that's fascinating for me is that you're starting to have nuanced, complex conversations, but you're also putting something out into the universe that intuitively you go, why wouldn't a personal care brand / company operate this way? This just feels right. I don't need to fully understand it to be able to appreciate it. And that's for me kind of where I want to leave it for today, because I feel like that's the upside for where you guys are at. It's been, fascinating talking to you, and I'm I'm really thankful for our conversation.
No, me too. Thank you so much. And yeah, I think I always open our meetings, think higher of people and capture it perfectly. Like, I think we should have more faith in people and their intellect when you are trying to put something new to the market, because I think whatever we have good today as humanity, we own to people who believe in the collective good of other people, humanity. I think it's a good assumption to start.
Perfect place to start. Wonderful, Pinar. Thank you so much for being on the show. And I look forward to circling back and hearing about all the progress. And thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Shape the System. As usual, if you'd like to suggest a guest, someone that you know who's helped change a system for the better, please go to www.shapethesystem.org, click on the top right-hand corner, then click Suggest Guest. Make sure that you click subscribe so that you get the new episode. Shape the System is an independent podcast with support from KPMG High Growth Ventures. Connects founders to the services they need along their journey. Whether you are looking to refine your strategy, mature your finance function, prepare for a capital raise, expand abroad, or simply comply with regulatory requirements, they provide you with the support you need to drive your business forward.